Hello again, everyone. So, I want to talk about the ancient paths. In the past, there were these two opposing sides to humanity, and they have different takes on things. And then, no, actually, originally there was only one culture, and then they went separate ways. Then they met again, and they fought each other. One side is the Abrahamic religions, and the other side is the Indic religions or mythology. And this from Indic mythology, it sprang all these other mythologies in the world. It created the Greek and Roman mythologies. And then also probably also the Celtic, and once on the Germanic, they sprung from this one source, Indic, the Indian religions. But then there's and both Abrahamic and Indic religions, they came from this one source, and they came from Mesopotamia, which is currently Iran. So Abrahamic religions, they started from the Jews. Well, the Indic religions, they started from the Indians. And then they kind of met, and then they view each other as the devil. So you know the word devil, it actually was inspired by when, and this is not recorded in anywhere in the internet or in any literature, or at least not in any that I have seen, but this is just something that I realized. The word devil is actually inspired from the word deva or devi from the Indic language, which in Indic languages it means the god or goddess. Deva is the male form of the deity, and Devi is the female form of deity. Now, in English language, it became associated with the devil when Christianity come into that region. So of course, naturally, the people in that area originally worshipped the deva or devi, or maybe they called it already the devil. But then when Christians came into this region, they called this devil as the antagonist. So that's how the word devil becomes associated with Satan. But the word Satan is more original, coming, coming from Jewish origin, I think. And I'm not really sure. But I think it was associated with Seth, because these Abrahamic religions are also associated with the Egyptian religions at the time. So you have a Abrahamic religion that came from the Jews, but they existed in this area of Egypt, and they are kind of the minority there, and they create their own cult, and then from that cult they kind of spread and become large. Then from there came Christianity, then and then after that, but unrelated to Christianity, is Islam, which is much more recent compared to the two. Not that recent, just like Christianity is 200, 2000 years old and more, while Islam is 1000 year old, around that time, around that duration, around that age. But they are related from this one root, from the Egyptian religions. Now, on the Abrahamic religion, you have this tradition of having this one God. It's monotheistic. It it creates this one big group of people who worship this one God, and they can create this one really large group who are very united because they worship the same God. Well, on the Indic religions, they have many gods. Indic religions would include the Greeks, the Roman mythologies, and also Celtic and Norse. And they worship many gods and goddesses. And the goal for the Indic religions is to be enlightened, to reach this one final state where you free your mind from this world of reincarnation. But there's different tradition from Hinduism and Buddhism. In Hinduism, this final goal is called moksha, if I'm not wrong. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Now, in Buddhism, the Buddha said that the final goal should be to reach nirvana or nirvana. So, nirvana is the state of being free from the cycle of rebirth, while in 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 Hinduism moksha, I'm not really sure, but it probably about becoming God yourself. And now you see that this story of becoming God is actually demonized. This story of trying to become God, trying to be the same as God, is demonized in the Abrahamic religions. In the story of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, where they were seduced by the snake to eat the fruit of knowledge. But in the Hindu tradition, people are encouraged to meditate and reach the state of moksha. And they have this cycle of reincarnation. They believe in reincarnation. But in Buddhism, they call it the cycle of rebirth. That is samsara, which is to be avoided in Buddhism, but in Hinduism, it is something that will happen over and over and over and over, never stops. But in Buddhism, they actively try to break free from this cycle of rebirth, which is samsara. Well, now you also have this tradition, this kind of side traditions in Abrahamic religions, including the Gnostic traditions and Sufi traditions in Islam, and in Jewish tradition, the Kabbalah tradition. Now, there's something in common in all of this. I think they somehow also believe in this cycle of being born and dead, being born and dead. And I know in this one particular sect of Gnosticism, but I don't really remember which sect that was. They believe that we are stuck in this cycle of birth and rebirth because we are imprisoned by the god of the world, which is the demiurge. The demiurge. It's spelled Demiurge. Demiurge. Okay, the demiurge is the god of this world, and he keeps humanity imprisoned in order to eat their spirit, in order to use their spirit for his own benefit. I'm not really sure what benefit it would be, but it's kind of like in the film of The Matrix. So the god of this world is keeping humanity stuck inside of this matrix, and then he is actually the Satan. He's actually the devil. He deceives humanity. Now, so you see that in these two traditions. In one tradition, it says that the ruler of this world is trying to deceive humans, that he is the God. But on this other side, which is the Abrahamic religion, it is said that Satan tries to tempt humanity to be enlightened, to be the same as God. So you see, there is these two oppositions here happening. One side is from the side of this monotheistic God. The other side is from this side that says that this God is the deceiver, and this is actually the actual God, which is slandered by this fake God. This in this Luciferian God is trying to enlighten humanity and to and to and to free humanity from this tyranny of the fake God, which imprisons humanity. And that's, I'm not really sure but which side is right, which side is wrong. But what I know is that when you talk about free will, right, there are two things that you can choose to believe. You can believe in that free will exists, or you can believe that free will doesn't exist. If you believe that free will exists, it will eventually bring you into this state of where you believe you're the only one consciousness that exists and other people are fake. Other people are just part of your imagination. That everything else in the universe is just part of your perception. They might not be real. They are created by you, and you are the God. That's if you believe in free will. I kind of forgot the philosophical branch that, if philosophical school that believes in this belief. Let me look it up. It's solipsism. Okay. So if you believe in free will, you will eventually enter the state of solipsism, where you are the only one. You are the only one consciousness who exists in this whole universe, this whole existence. You're alone. You're in this state of eternal loneliness. But if you don't believe in free will, you will have to denounce your own self, because you believe that the universe exists outside of you. And if the universe exists, that would mean that all of your conscious experience is controlled by this causal mechanism between atoms. That's also kind of curious, the naming. And you have all these mechanism of the universe, the law of the universe that are interacting with each other, and the matters are interacting with other matters. And, and that includes the matters in your neuron. Everything that you will choose next will already be determined by this kind of mechanisms that are happening in your brain, and also by the fact that you have a past, and whatever decision that you make because there is something in the past that influences your decision right now. There's always something that influences your decision right now. There is some factor. So you are not free in this sense, because something else is influencing you. Whether this is a random influence, which is believed in quantum mechanics. So quantum mechanics people believe, quantum mechanics state that there are some things that are only true when they're observed by humans. So the observation is dependent on, so the truth is sometimes dependent on human observation. So there's some randomness there. So human has all of this, but still randomness is not, you don't really know if that is you. That still doesn't say that randomness is who you are, because you don't really know who or what that randomness is. It is not this sense of me, not this sense of I that me and you are experiencing right now. So that randomness cannot be said as the free will, as your free will. Or maybe it can, but it still doesn't prove that you exist, because you don't know what it is. It may be God, it may be something, I don't know. But if reality exists, you don't exist, because it's not you who make the decisions. Your decisions are already predetermined. Now, if you look in the Bible actually confusingly believes in free will, but it also believes in the existence of God, who knows everything already. So God already knows everything. So it might as well be already predetermined. Because who else is making these fates if not God? Because He's the source of everything, right? Maybe we co-create with God? But then you see, there are these two options that you can choose. You can choose to believe that you are God, or you can choose to make yourself obedient to this figure of God that you worship. So you separate, you create this kind of distance between you and God, and you make this God as the true God, while you are just its slave, or its son, its child. Or now you can choose the Luciferian path, in which you try to make yourself enlightened, and you become the God, and you are the one controlling the universe. You are in power. You become the God. So these are two paths that you can choose. But now you I have I've proven for myself that when I chose to become the God, it played out like the story of Lucifer that has been that has been told in the Christian tradition. The story of Lucifer is that he was once an angel, a really beautiful angel with such grace, but then he became arrogant. He tried he became prideful. He tried to become the same as God, and then he fell from grace. So he fell from his status as an angel, as the most beautiful angel, and he fell into the state of demon. So he became the devil. So that's the story. And I don't know where this story came from. It's clear it doesn't come from the Bible. There are some really tiny indication in the Bible that is pointing to this story, but when I look at the verse, it seems really ambiguous to me. It doesn't show me how that verse could be extrapolated into this story of Lucifer's fall from grace. I don't see it from the Bible. It's in the Bible, the story in the Bible that Christians usually associated with the fall of Lucifer is this this poem actually about the morning star. Just this one poem, one verse that is saying that about the morning star falling from the sky or something about that. I don't really remember exactly, so correct me if I'm wrong. So that's where Christians say that the story of the Lucifer came from. But I don't see it. I don't see how it came from that story. I think it came from another tradition in the church, another older tradition where once the one when they were still, when the church and the Gnostics are still together side by side, and they still know these traditions, these stories of I think it is ancient. The story is ancient, related to these two branches of religions, of Indic and of the Indic branches, Sufi and Gnostic, opposed to the Jews, Christians, Islam, etc. I think the story came from that. So now, when we see about the story of the fall of the Babel and story of Sodom and Gomorrah, and yeah, those old ancient stories, there are probably some pattern, some stories with pattern that keep occurring in cycle. So they are happening again currently. These are ancient wisdom that people tell. These are the human tendencies. But that doesn't mean that it would always play out the same way. But these are the tendencies that are being told by the ancient. And then people kind of like this harsh reality and they slowly forget this wisdom. And then when the thing happens again, all the Jesus freaks come out again and they warn about these things, right? They don't have to result in the same result, but these are the tendencies. For example, the tendencies in Sodom and Gomorrah is that its people try to fuck everything, everything that moves, including angels, anything that is taboo. So all kinds of sexual perversions came forth because people are freeing their sexual libidos, right? And this story happens again and again and again. And then the religious side tries to suppress it too hard. And then people kind of revolt against it and they try to liberate themselves again, and then they transgress, and then the religious folks try to suppress it again, and then until they can no longer contain it, and then it breaks out again. When it breaks out, it is kind of beautiful because it is about the freedom of humans, and it doesn't really it isn't really sinful because like homosexuality, right? Nobody is harmed, okay? Nobody is harmed. But then with this, the tendency to become really impulsive sexually is there. So people kind of starting to be attracted to all sorts of sexual perversions. They try to unleash their sexual desires. And people then meet the consequences. In the Bible, they say that these people try to have sex with angels. No, I'm not sure if the angels in that story is really angels or they represent something more innocent, but the story is disguised as having these characters of angels, right? I hope you can kind of guess where I'm hinting. Yeah, and I think there are these secret elites that are trying to make this group of people, for example, homosexuals, they try to make it disappear by they try to make this group of people infertile so they cannot reproduce. But it's something really sinister, but I don't think that's not for the topic for this video. It's for another time. Yeah, because I'm also still not sure about this. Still haven't quite grasped how the system how it connects, how everything connects yet with this one. But okay, basically, this thing repeats. And then you have revelation. Revelation is not about the cycle. It is about the utopia that we are trying to achieve. But we'll never be able to achieve this utopia. It is only a human aspiration, and we are trying to grasp into this thing. We are moving closer and closer and closer to it, half by half, but we can never quite reach it. It's like infinity. Like when you divide 1 with 2, you get 0.5, and then you divide it again with 2, you get 0.25, and then you divide it again with 2, you get 0.125, etc., etc. It is infinite. That's how close we move to this utopia. We will never reach it exactly, because humans will always be different. But I do think we are moving closer and closer to it. But as we move closer to it, we are also more sensitive to these little differences between us. So it kind of becomes almost the same as if we don't move closer to it. For example, now we live in this world where we don't have to worry about ours, but about hunting animals to survive. We don't have to worry about that problem. But now we have to worry about working, and this issue of working becomes our focus in life, that we must put it into our emotional reservoir of of having a problem, because we as human requires a problem. We need some kind of problem that we can try to solve. That's how we work. That's how our mind works. We need a problem, and then we try to solve it. So if we no longer have problems, or we have fewer problems, our mind will be more keen to find problems in the little things, and then we focus on those little things. Then we try to solve it, but we will never solve it completely, because there are still these infinite little problems that we will keep trying to solve. So that's how revelation works, the end of the world. Yeah, I think beside these two traditions of Abrahamic religions and Indic religions, there are also various animistic animistic religions or beliefs, but they are more natural. They're not really traditional, because they develop kind of naturally. They're not about gods. They don't personify gods. They they personify nature or their ancestors. They don't have a god, right? That they collectively worship. They only have this kind of cultural traditions or rituals, but they don't have this one unifying God or gods. So that's all for today. Hope you enjoyed it. And if you have other theories about the origin of humanity and religions, please comment it on below or provide us with a source or links or articles or books. Thank you for watching. See you again next time.